All right. Well, thanks for joining us this morning, everybody. I know it's tough to get away. You probably have checkout time and all that, those things going on. I know it's a busy time in the day for some of you guys. So we definitely appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come in and learn a little bit with us. And this is all really important stuff. It doesn't really change the way you've gone about doing business necessarily. It's just going to change the way you guys are communicating with the CVB. I guess first off, my name is Chris George. I work for a company based in Tucson, Arizona called Simpleview, Inc. And we work with destinations all over the world. We work with about 330 cities, states, and countries, all in the tourism space, all convention and visitors bureaus. And so what that means for you guys, we build websites and we build software. And the software is designed to open up the lines of communication between you guys at your hotel properties and the CVB. And this really contains a couple of things. Some of it has to do with marketing, with the content they can display on the website in a few different spots. Sometimes it can have to do with updating content that will display in visitors guides, the print guides that you've probably seen the CVB produce over the years. But the main portion of it for you is going to be the conversation and the communications for the sales leads that have been going out. So traditionally, over the years, you have been receiving an email from the CVB sales staff when there is a new request from a meeting planner, when they need you guys to respond with room rates and availability. You're going to continue to get an email telling you that there is a new lead to respond to. But we're going to now ask that you log into what we're calling the extranet here to submit that response. And we do that for a couple of reasons. One is to make sure we can deliver and receive your requests, the requests and the responses. So using a service like this, we're able to guarantee delivery of every lead to your hotel property, and we're able to guarantee receipt of every response that you submit. Sometimes emails get lost in the mail. You might have your sales staff on vacation or on their own sales mission. They might not be sitting at their desk. They might not be checking in their emails. And that can mean that you lose out on the possibility to bid on a lead because the person who received that email wasn't in the office. So this tool set was designed to open up again those lines of communication and to do a number of other things when we're collecting those. So what's going to happen if some of you guys I see on computers and what should have happened when you walked in is we checked you in and we would have sent you an email. And that email would have contained something that looks a little bit like this. It might be hard for you guys in the back to see, but this just says, hey, dear Chris, I want to let you know you now have access to the extranet. You're going to see a link in there. It starts with the extranet.Springfield Simpleview, and I'll come back to that in just a few minutes. Username is always going to be your email address. And the first time you log in, you'll use that password that's in your email. And then it's going to prompt you to enter in a password that you're going to remember forever. And you enter that twice. Forever, it doesn't have to be. I'll show you in a minute where you can always hit forgot password. And all that's going to do is send you a new email to start that process over again. So you guys are the first ones getting in here, from your specific properties. What this means is sometime, most likely at the end of next week, we will be sending out login information to the other people on your staff that need to have access to the system. So we're working on a few things. It looks like the end of next week, we're going to flip a switch, and the rest of your sales team, the rest of your marketing team is going to get this email and say, hey, go ahead and log in. But first, we've got to make sure we have the right contacts on file, so we get the right people, the login information. We're going to look at that step. We need to review some account information, some of your amenity information. And then we're going to talk about that lead process in a few more steps. So can everybody hear me okay? Sound all right? Okay. So what happens is once you log into what is called the extranet, you're going to see something that looks just like this. The first page, the home page, is what we call partner bulletins. This is an area where the CVB is trying to share specific sets of information with you guys. And I know they've done a great job communicating, again, through newsletters and emails and phone calls and meetings and those types of things. But sometimes these messages are really important. We really want to make sure that you guys are aware of these things. So what may happen is you may receive an email from time to time. They may get repurposed back into here. So that way there's a spot where your entire team can get it, whether they were on the email list or not. This can include, notices of upcoming events. This can include things like we're seeing here today with training docs. So right off the bat, when you guys get back to your office and you log in, if you're not logging in right there with me, I know you have printed copies of these, but this is where when your team gets access next week, the first thing they're going to see is the training docs, so they can pull these out and they can review this process themselves. I'm sure the team at the CVB is willing to, help out a little bit. If we can, we'll have additional trainings in the future. And we're actually recording this session to post this through the website in a few different areas. So your team will have, kind of more of a video training like we're seeing right here. So partner bulletins, they stand out. If there's something that's deemed to be extra important, they're all important messages, I'm sure. But the most important message we'll display up there at the top with an exclamation point, kind of trying to tell you to, hey, heads up, look at this. This list could get long, and you might be thinking, you come back in once every couple of weeks, you think, did I read that or not? What's nice is as soon as you read a message, all we do is click on it, and it's going to show you the message. And then when I come back, it's going to tell you that you've already read that message and what date you read that message. So you can pull out documents from there. They could just be text. They could be links to other sections of the website where we're trying to give you more info. But again, it's just an information share. Kind of like a newsletter might be, but just sharing the info that the team has deemed important. And it's just, again, it's a way to kind of guarantee that you guys are seeing it. And from there, we start moving into the big stuff. The first thing we're looking at here is what's called your member record. And your member record, first off, at the top there, houses all the core information about your business. Your business's name, website URL, phone number, addresses, etc. So the first thing we're going to ask you to do is to review this information. And if there's anything wrong here, we need to communicate that directly to the CVB. I'd ask, how do we communicate that with the CVB? Well, on the first page here, when we're logging in, there's the forgot password. So if you forgot your password, but you'll also see this email address. You can write it down. I'm sure you guys have heard a lot of people chatting. You probably have your own contacts at the CVB. But that will be the email address, cvb@springfieldmo.org, to reach out if you have any questions on the extra, any questions with any of these tools. And again, once you come into the member record, the reason why you can't change the core info is the team needs to know that for a lot more than just the website or just the visitor's guide. We need to know if you've had changes to your physical address, because we need to make sure we're directing people to the right spot. If your billing address has changed again, make sure you're communicating with that with the team. And I would say take a minute to really, review. And that's a big part of the first step that, whoever on your team needs to do. We need to make sure we're starting off on the right foot with the right information. And the reason why this could be wrong is we just recently converted the team here to our system, our CRM database. They used something else previously for years. We migrated all that data over, but our team can't verify that it was legitimate to begin with. And what we found yesterday is there were a few people, one, for example, that in the formerly field, that's what your business might have formerly been called, you might have had a name change. Somebody in there had toll-free number, 1-800-345, whatever. And we kind of grazed that over, and I said, well, were you formerly called toll-free 1-800 at? Nope, that's our toll-free number. So we just had to know that so we can move that around and put the toll-free number where it belongs. And again, we need to just be sharing the right information when people are requesting it.
So we don't get to edit this ourselves?
No, but we got the CVB team here. If you're seeing something wrong, just make a note. We can talk to the team. We'll break a few minutes early so we can make some of those kind of core changes. You can change what displays on the website today. So we'll talk a little bit about that in just a few minutes. So again, the way it works is kind of consider this your core record. Again, this information can be pulled into print guides when we do go to print things like a visitor's guide. This information does pull to the website currently and is used by the visitor center and a few other areas that we'll see as we walk through here. But then I come down below the account information and we see this series of tabs that are all related directly to your business. And really actually a step before that, some of you might work for chains, or some of you might work for a management company who's responsible for responding to the sales leads and updating the marketing information for its children, as we call them. If that's the case and you work for more than one business, again, it's a chain and you're responsible for doing these things for a couple of different properties, or you're a management company that needs to take care of this for your subsidiaries, for your children down below, right up here in this drop down, you would see all of those different children accounts. So this way you have one login. You log in as your management company. And then if you need to flip down to a different hotel, you just flip this little switch right there to the other hotel. You update all the stuff we're looking at today, come right up back up there, switch it back to the original hotel or to another hotel. And that's so you don't have to have 5 different logins with 5 different usernames and 5 different passwords. If you work, it's all the same business. We just use that little tool so you can access all of the different accounts all in one login. And then we come down below, and one of the most important things, again, these guys are all really important, but a few really stand out. One of the big ones is your contacts. We need to make sure the CVB knows who to contact in different situations for you guys. So I want you to take a look at your contact list. You might look at it and say, wow, that Chris George guy quit 6 months ago. We need to get him out of there. And then we need to make sure that the replacement is in there. And this is really important that we continue to think about this and update this, as we move forward, because the CVB needs to have contacts for things. They need to know who to send their emails to. And we need to make sure also that you're deactivating users when they leave your company. When they get fired or when they quit, the first thing we need to do is deactivate people because they have access to this. And I know there's a lot of turnover in hotels. Sometimes they go to another hotel here in Springfield. Sometimes they move out of the city, out of the state, and stay inside of the industry, which is great. Might even be inside of your, staying inside of your company. But you probably don't want that person to take confidential information with them when they leave, like meeting planner contact information, the history of the meetings that your specific property is held, and those statistics. So the first thing we do is if we're looking at this list and somebody doesn't belong on that list, or when somebody gets fired or you're about to let somebody go or somebody's quitting and you know that they're leaving on Friday, the first thing we need to do is come underneath their record, and we'll see this little pencil. The pencil is always going to be edit. And all we're going to see is throughout this system, everything we're looking at here today is fill in the blanks kinds of things. You just fill in the blanks. Shouldn't be too crazy. You guys know most of these fields. And what happens is if we try to save something without a required field, the required fields display in red. It's probably hard to see, but it's just a little message that pops up that says this can't be saved at this time. The following fields are required. We need your full name. So that way we know how to contact you and how to communicate with you. Then we see over here a couple of big things that I'm going to point out. Again, if Chris is no longer with your company, we look at the contact type here. And contact type signifies if this is the primary point of contact in their department, the secondary point of contact in their department, or does Chris no longer work there? So if he no longer works there, we change him to inactive. We don't delete because there's history associated with the record. You might want to see the things that that person did a long time ago. The CVB needs to report off of those things. So we don't delete them, we just make them inactive. And what you can do is make him inactive. Not going to make me inactive, but then you would just hit save and new. And then it just refreshes that page so we can enter in their replacement. Fill in a contact, looking at your list today. If somebody's missing, save a new, enter the next one, save a new, enter the next one, save a new, enter the next one. So it just refreshes the page. And again, a few things to point out here. We'd enter in, of course, their name. Again, their type, are they active? If so, they would be primary or secondary, again, in their department. Excuse me. Then we see a few things here like preferred method of contact. This indicates how would you like to receive print communications from the CVB? So what that means is when they want to send you like a lead request to let you know, hey, there's a new lead in the system for you to respond to. Would you like to receive that via email? We hope so. Or would you rather it go through the snail of the fax machine? Or would you like to have somebody print it out and send it over to you guys? So hopefully the answer is email, because we know, faxes aren't great. They don't always work. They don't always come through. It's my favorite line from Michael Scott on The Office. Somebody called him up and said, can you fax that over to me? He said, why don't I tie it to a dinosaur's back and have him crawl it over to you? Can't I just email it? That's the world we live in. It's the most efficient. We know it's not perfect, and that's why we use a system like this to try to share like the partner bulletins. The email might not have come through, and so you can come in here and also respond to your leads and things. Of course, we try to nip that in the bud, but sometimes, again, emails get caught in spam filters. They're not perfect, but it's a whole lot better than fax, where the other fax machine could be off and it just never comes through. Faxes also cost money. So hopefully we're all into email. And we'll come over here, enter in the email address, the person's business title, the email address, and then make sure this stays checked. This is spam compliance. By law, if you're receiving emails from somebody and you say, stop it, leave me alone, by law, they have to leave you alone. And that's what that checkbox is there. If that's unchecked, that would prevent the CVV from emailing you anything. Now, we talked about it. There's some important things they're trying to email to you guys. You know, your partners, you're in this deal kind of together. So we're going to ask and really strongly suggest everybody leaves that checked. It has to be there because it's the law. But you guys shouldn't uncheck it because we're partners and we need to be able to communicate with each other. Probably pretty obvious. You know, a few more things that we can use, you know, just with social networking, a little bit of fun to be able to communicate with you, you know, on your birthday. Gender here can just add Mr. or Miss into a letter. So dear Mr. George, when you're receiving something like that, just something nice to have inside of the system. And I come down below phone numbers. What's nice about the phone numbers here is you just enter the correct number of digits. It automatically formats to a phone number format. Then we see addresses down below. And I think for most of you, the contacts don't want to be contacted at home. So what happens is by default, it pulls in the account's addresses right there. And that's why we see the account physical is being copied here, account billing, and account shipping. If you did have somebody who works from a home office and you did want to have them receive letters, you know, things like that at home, you can just come right here and change it to custom address and type in a person's, you know, actual home address. 9 times out of 10, the account gets set at home. So you can just leave those set to the account. So the contact information, again, we need to know who to reach out to for every situation. We need to make sure you're entering in replacements as you have replacements. And I got a couple quick stories. I do a lot of these trainings. I've been with my company for about 11 years. And I don't know if I mentioned it, we have about 330 clients worldwide. So I get the opportunity to do a lot of these trainings with partners and with the team back at the CVV. I hear a lot of the good stories. I hear a lot of the horror stories that can come up. And of course, these things might not happen to you guys. This is a good way to avoid it. But I've heard a lot of times situations where, you know, a month goes by and your team hasn't been getting any leads from the hotel. We've heard it many times where the GM then calls up the CVV and says, "What's going on, guys? I usually get 10. I usually get 20 leads from you a month, and we haven't won any business from you." Well, usually what the CVV can do is they can come back through, and what used to happen is they get that message and then they come back and say, "Well, is Chris George still my sales contact at your hotel?" The response from the GM is always, "Nope, I fired him a month ago. Chris left a month ago." Well, I'm sorry, nobody told us at the CVV. So we've been emailing Chris our sales leads, and some of you guys were quick on the fly with our IT staff, making sure our emails are getting redirected. Sometimes we've got to contact the IT staff. That could take a week, it could take 2 weeks, it could take a month. So in a lot of those situations, the response was, "I'm sorry, it's because we didn't know that person quit and we didn't have a replacement." So in those situations, the hotel missed out on the chance to bid on those, you know, to enter proposals on those bids, which could have been hundreds or thousands of room nights. So sometimes a hotel misses out on the chance to make thousands of dollars because the CVV is sending their lead requests down a deep, dark hole and they're not getting to the place they need. So first thing we do is we enter in the replacement. Somebody leaves, we enter in a replacement, and we make sure, you know, right off the bat that this is the list of the correct people. We make sure that they're indicating what department they work in, their title, and all that good stuff. You'll also see down below, the inactive people will stay in the system. They'll just display with a line through it, a strike through right there, and they'll be shown up as inactive. So we got to have the contacts. We got to know who to contact in different situations, and we need to make sure that we always have a point of contact when these types of things come up. The next 3 really have to do with more of kind of a marketing spin. So it's important to note also that different people can have access to these different tools. You know, we can work with the CVV to make sure your sales staff has access to the sales leads and the things we'll talk about here in just a few minutes. But maybe it's somebody else. Maybe it's somebody on your marketing team, somebody different that should be able to change your website content, to update the content that displays in some of the guides, to update your policies and your amenities. And again, the next few things that we're going to take a look at. So listings. The definition of a listing is a set of content that's going to display somewhere. Most of you are going to log in and you're going to see here at least one that says website. You may see like sports facility guide, meeting planners guide. It kind of depends on you and your business. And all that's saying is this content that we add here for the website, well, that's going to display on the springfieldmo.org website. The content in the sports facility guide. There's sports facility area in here. And again, you might not have all of these. You might have some slightly different than what we're seeing there. But again, all it is the content that displays in these sections. And hopefully most of you guys know that each and every one of you, all of your businesses has at least one page on the website. And I'm using University Plaza not to single anybody out, but that's where we stayed last night, and they're across the street. So I just pulled up their example. And what we see on a listing page is a big header image, could be actually a YouTube video. We'll see that in just a few minutes. We see some of that core information that pulls off of your main account that we saw earlier. We see the potentially coupons and special offers, links to your own business. A bit of an image slideshow is available if you would like to have an image slideshow. A nice thorough description. Google Maps so people can get driving directions and find your business. Then we'll see meeting rooms and amenity information here as well. Everything on that page you have control over, again, underneath your website listing, or you could potentially also have listing information in the sporting event, the planner, in the sports planner section, or the meeting professionals section. So all you need to do, and again, you might have a couple of these. Over time, we're going to work with the staff to give you more freedom to add more content. And what I mean by that is a lot of your hotel properties are hotels and you have sleeping rooms, but you also have meeting space, and so what we might want to have is two different listings on two different sections of the website. So that way, when a leisure traveler is planning their vacation, they see a nice description that's related to a leisure traveler planning a vacation. But maybe in the meeting planner section, it talks about your meeting space. So you can have, the options are, you're gonna have one description that can display on a bunch of different pages. It's kind of a generic description that would work for a meeting planner or a leisure consumer. Or you might have two, excuse me, one description for that leisure traveler, one different description for the meeting planner. So again, there might be a point where you start to see two of these, and that'll be coming up sometime here in the near future. But at any time you want, you can come in to edit the content. And for this example, we would see here, it drops in if you would like to include a contact. Maybe on, again, the meeting planners page, you want your director of sales contact information to display so people can know exactly who that person is and to reach out to them directly. So as you're adding and updating your contacts, that's going to add and update those contacts in this list. So you can come through here and say, Melissa's contact information should display on this specific page. It shows which page it's going to display on. Then you got your nice big description there. And our suggestion is going to be to use these tools to add and update seasonal specials, holiday menus, change the content on a somewhat regular basis. We do that for a couple of reasons. One, things change. You guys have seasons. I'm from Tucson, Arizona. We have 2 seasons, if you can even call it that. You guys have different things to offer at different points throughout the year. And by updating your listing content, it can do a couple of things. One, it can help the CVB's website get picked up faster and higher in Google search rankings. That can then turn into people finding your page faster on the website and hopefully then linking out to your business's website to learn more. And I know a lot of your businesses, some of you work for very successful large-scale properties who have great websites with great search engine optimization. They get picked up pretty high in Google. But I think for the most part, if you were to go into Google and search accommodations in Springfield, the first thing that's popping up there is the CVB's website. Yours is probably a little bit further down. Some of your companies pay for paid advertisements, so you might be, get one of those special spots on Google. But for the most part, if somebody was to come in and search restaurants in Springfield, dining in Springfield, accommodations in Springfield, hotels in Springfield, the CVB website's coming up right at the top because they get a tremendous amount of traffic just organically. And then again, hopefully that leads to more hits for you. So if you can add in relevant content, that's just going to help everybody's pages get viewed a little bit more. So come in and change this guy on a regular basis. Different holidays, you might be having different parties. And what we'll see in a little while is we also have the opportunity to add calendar events items onto the CVB's calendar of events. That's used by the visitor center. It's used by leisure travelers visiting the website, etc. So be thorough. Also, it's important to note that these things don't just immediately go live on the website. The CVB team's getting notified, and it's going to say, hey, the hotel has updated their content. We got to review it. They're going to review it. Then they're either going to click a button where it goes live, or they could possibly click the deny button and send a little message back to you that says, hey, reword this in some way. Now, the team's going to work hard to not bother you in that way. You know, if they notice a couple of little misspellings of some words, they're going to try their hardest to catch those things. But this is your responsibility to include your marketing message. And I don't think anybody in here would do anything that, you know, they would say this doesn't meet with our marketing strategy, you know, anything too adult or anything like that. I don't think anybody's worried about that. But we also see in some situations, you know, more in the South, some people accidentally put y'all in. Some people have that part of like their marketing strategy to include things like y'all. That's not up to the CVB to decide. It's still a word. It still says it and it's correct. So the team's going to work hard to make some quick little changes for you guys to not have to deny it, but they might send you back a little message that says, please try again. They're going to review it, hit the button, and then it'll go live. And also just keep in mind, somebody physically has to do that. So if for some reason you guys might work on the weekends a lot more than the CVB staff does. So if you're entering some content on Saturday, probably give them till Monday. You know, they're getting an email notification, but somebody does have to be there at a computer to approve that change. So give it a nice thorough description, again, talking about the different things that you have to offer. And if I come down a little bit from there, kind of goes into your question a little bit earlier, so you can change the website things right now if need be. So what we see is this column, that's showing under account value. It's probably grayed out. Again, might be hard for you guys to see in the back, but that's showing your core account information. You can change it. And the reason we have this in there is, again, think about my example from a few minutes ago where you may have two listings, one for the meeting planners and your meeting facilities, one for leisure travelers. Well, if this was the meeting facilities page, maybe instead of linking them directly to the your main page of your website, maybe when somebody's on this and they click view website, maybe it should take them to your meeting section instead of just your homepage. Maybe the phone number that's listed there, instead of it being your main line, maybe that should go directly to your sales staff or someone like that. So again, sometimes you might have 2 or 3 listings that are telling 2 or 3 different stories, 2 or 3 different descriptions. We need 2 or 3 different phone numbers, addresses. Another example I use all the time is, again, in Arizona, our resorts, we got tons of resorts. They all have golf courses. Well, instead of using the main line, the main email address, the main website URL, let people link directly to the tee time section of the website. When somebody calls, let them bring directly to the pro shop, or again, to your restaurant that might be downstairs instead of first checking through the front desk. So overwrite field, you can change those to make sure that this specific listing contains this specific set of information. And then a little bit further down, you can enter in your email address and enter in an interval here. And what that means is we're tracking it. Every time somebody comes to your page on the website, that's getting logged as a 1. Then every time anybody clicks through to go to your business's website, that also gets tracked as a 1. So what can happen with this little tool down here is you can set it up to say, email me every time my page has been viewed 250 times, 500 times, 1,000 times. You set that interval. And we use that for a couple of reasons. One, we want to make sure that you're getting hits. If you find most of you guys are getting, you're going to be getting a couple hundred hits every month. But if it goes a couple of months and you don't get that email, that's probably telling you should add some seasonal specials, some holiday menus, add some relevant content because people aren't finding your listings page fast enough. So you take a look, if you're getting that email every week, you can say, wow, we must have a good message in there. We can let it go. Our coupons are working. If you're not getting those notifications, it's a little indicator that maybe you guys should look at the content that you're putting in there and reviewing your listings page and all these things that we've got to look at right here. So listings will also be, and you'll save it. Again, it's going to go through a review process. And again, the type is where this information will display. And another example of that is before we go to print with the visitor's guide, whenever that might be, your team's going to receive communications. We're going to post posts in the partner bulletin that tell you come in and review your visitor guide listing before we send it over to the printer. So that way you guys have an easy way to come in and say, I approve what's already on file, or I'm updating it to something new. And that way, the team at the CVV, it saves them a lot of time and energy. So that way, when it's time to produce their visitor's guide, we just export your account information, phone number, address, email address, the descriptions that should go specifically in the guide. So the listings make pretty good sense? We're all on track? All right. The next tabs over, they still relate to the website in a few different ways. The first one we see underneath web is coupons. Coupons and special offers, deals. These are some of the most searched for terms on the internet. The Google search, it's always been this way. Coupons and deals and special offers, people are always searching for that when they're planning a vacation. We're probably all the same way. Everybody's always looking for a deal. What that means is having coupons and special offers can make your page much more visible. And you have the opportunity to create as many coupons as you might like. This is a paid for option. So you do have to work with the CVV and talk to the folks over here about getting set up inside of this program. But once you're set up in the program, you can create coupons and special offers, and you can set these up for the year. So you can add in a Mother's Day coupon, you can add in, a 4th of July coupon. We're also going to be adding in reporting over the next couple of weeks, which will give your hotels the opportunity to understand times when the city is really slow and times when the city is really busy. And hopefully those tools can help you guys understand when should we be offering specials. Should we give a, say 3 nights, get 1 free type of a deal in July when our city is really slow? We can encourage more people to get in there in those times. So we'll talk about reports more in just a little while. But you can go ahead and add in coupons. And what will happen if you're not engaged in the program is if you add in a coupon, the CVV is going to reach out to you and give you guys the details on that. Once you've accepted and you're part of that program, you can edit, you can add in your coupons as often as you might like. And that being said, what I would suggest is you can come in, and when we add these coupons, these do a couple of things. One, the coupons can display as a link right from your listings page. But also in the site here, underneath things to do, there's the special offers and coupons page, where each of these are coupons that can be pulled down, downloaded, printed off, and then redeemed in your business if you choose, again, to be engaged in this program. You're going to create the coupon by giving it a name, a description, choosing the dates that should be valid, and choosing the imagery that should be on there. And we do that all on the coupon page. So we give it a title. Maybe on that coupon, we want somebody to click and be sent to your specials page on your website. So you can drop in a unique URL there. So again, when somebody's reviewing the coupon, they can just click to go right to a specific page on your website. We enter in the text. That's that big thorough description. The next thing we're going to look at is where your team can add in your logos and images. And once they're loaded up or have been approved and reviewed, then you can select which image from your file should display on that coupon. And then we come down here and I see redeem dates. Those are the dates that will display on the coupon telling you when it's valid. But then we see these post dates. And again, what's great about this program is it's a big way to get more traffic again into your business. People love them. Like I said, coupons and special offers are a big thing. But what's nice is, again, you can set yourself up for the year. You don't have to come in every month and create a coupon unless you want to. What you can do is come in today and create a Mother's Day coupon again. You could create your, holiday coupons today. They can automatically post on a specific date and then automatically be pulled down from the website on another date. So that way, the day after Mother's Day, the Mother's Day coupon isn't up there anymore. Your team doesn't have to remember to go in and take it down. But you can, you can come in and, like I said, add them, edit them. And then we'll also have the opportunity to apply them to a category. So again, like we see here, when we're looking at our coupons and our special offers, we can come in and search by coupons in a specific category. And we can also choose to have that coupon display on one or all of your listings. So again, those little check boxes probably get hard to see for some of you guys in the back. Those are the listings we saw on the last page. And you can say this coupon should go on the lodging section, the leisure section, but shouldn't go on the meeting planner section. So that way you choose which listing the coupon should display on. And then if you do engage in this, I just suggest that you print off a copy and post it somewhere where the rest of your team can see it. I've had a lot of history with this where people take the time, your marketing person puts in a coupon, somebody comes in next week to redeem it and say, I don't even know what that thing is. I don't think we accept it. So we got to just make sure the communication, we know that people walking in are accepting that. And what's cool is we'll also be able to report back to you at a point and say, your coupon has been downloaded 500 times this year, this week, this month. So again, sometimes it helps. Again, these coupons listed up at the top, they can be buy one, get one free, buy one night, stay one night, 10% off, stay 2 nights, get a 3rd night free, really flexible. You guys can even build little packages in there if you wanted to do, say, redeem this for $300 for a 2-night stay and, lunch or something like that. Totally up to you, really free. Again, you'll be notified. Once you enter in a coupon, the team will reach out to talk to you a little bit. And the next one over are images and logos and embedded YouTube videos. So when we look again at this site, and sorry, Sean, what was the name of that brewery again? Mother's Brewery. Just bringing these guys up because they have just did a great job. It's a funny little video. And what we have the choice to do is in that main header area, you can either, like we see with these guys, have a nice big header image, or instead you can choose to embed a YouTube video. And we'll just let this go for a second. You guys can just see how it works. People can blow this up, and I think it's hilarious. Laverne and Shirley, I haven't heard this song in a while, and it instantly brought back some memories. But you guys have the choice. And what's great about YouTube now is all you have to do is add a YouTube video to YouTube, and it gives you what's called the embedded text or the embedded link. So once you jump in there and we come in and we're adding in a YouTube video, we give it a title. That way the team knows that what it's all about, what's that video all about. All you do is copy and paste from YouTube the link, that embedded link as it's called. It's just www, usually says u.tube with a whole bunch of gibberish after it. And all that is, it's a unique URL for your specific video. So that way we can embed it, as it's called, right into the page. And people aren't clicking and going to YouTube to view it. Because what happens is when somebody clicks off to go to YouTube the video, they're probably then closing the CVB website. And then, they're not coming back and doing more research. So we want to keep people on the site as much as possible. And instead of linking out to it, we can just come in again, copy that video link in there, select which listings it should display on. Once it gets approved, that posts right back in there. So, it's a little bit more fun. We live in a digital age. It's all about imagery. It's all about videos. It's not so much about text. We saw where we can edit that text. Of course, it's important. But having good quality imagery and good videos can, again, make your listing stand out a little bit more. And hopefully the whole goal of all of this is to drive more traffic to your business. So your options are either an image, and I'm going to show that next, or when you add in a YouTube video, that becomes the main header. And then again, you can still have the image slideshow down below. With you add in a video, that replaces the image. The images will then be dropped into the slideshow down below. So you save the video. And right over here, now under media, kind of skipping ahead, we see new logos and new images. Kind of the same thing, but all you're doing first is you're selecting, is it an image or is it a logo? That tells Sean and the web team where that should display on the website. Images always go to one spot, logos always go to another to make the website clean and consistent. So choose if it's an image and it should go into the slideshow, or if it's a logo, give it a nice text. And again, Sean made a good point about the text yesterday. Those are going to be picked up by visually impaired readers. So when people can't see an image, it can read the title of that image out to them so they can still get a bit of an experience. They can also be alt tags to when somebody hovers over it, it can read out this title. So give it a nice title, again, for a couple of reasons. One, so people can pick those things up in different ways. But also, two, is so the team knows what this image should be used for. Really important. Then you're going to just browse your computer, find an image, and drop it right in there. And we're going to ask you to enter in the highest res version of an image that you can find, because the system will automatically resize them to really three sizes. 1 and actually 2 and 3. So you enter in the highest res version of it, the system will automatically resize it down to that little thumbnail. maybe to that bigger size. And we want high res because it's impossible really to take something small and make it big. We've all seen that. It gets all blurry and it gets distorted and it doesn't work. But it's easy to take something big and make it smaller because we can keep the perspective, the proportions, and all that stuff. So enter in the high-res versions of your images and then just choose which listings it should display on. And if you're thinking, I don't have any good imagery right now, take out your iPhone and take some photos. It's again, the world we live in. We have our camera phones are more powerful than just about any camera that we would have built up until just a couple of years ago. A good example of that is the New York Times just recently fired most of their photography staff and bought their reporters' iPhones because they're saying we don't need professional photography anymore. We don't have to pay 2 salaries. Somebody, when you're on site, take a picture and we're going to put that in the New York Times. So again, your phone is taking just as good of quality of photographs as anything else. So if you don't have good images, take some and post them. And all you have to do is browse and drop them right in there. Again, those do get approved. And once they get approved, they'll be added into the slideshow and or into that main header area there. Any questions? Listings, images, logos? Still doing all right? Great. We just keep moving right along. The next one there is amenities. So again, I know I said contacts are super important, but amenities are another one that I feel is really vital. We again took what we had on file from the old system and pulled it in here. Some of you might have had major changes over the past couple of years when we last collected that data. It's really important that the CVB knows how to sell your business. Again, you guys probably, you know it as well as I do, but the team at the CVB is working really hard to convince leisure travelers, members of the media, and large-scale meetings and convention planners to come into your property, but more generally into the general Springfield area. And when somebody calls up and says, hey, I need a pet-friendly hotel, we need to make sure, one, we're only sending that request to pet-friendly hotels. If you're not, we don't want to bother you and waste your time and your efforts. Because also that can slip through the cracks sometimes, and you might enter in a response and just miss that one line that says pet-friendly. We're giving a proposal back to the meeting planner. Then they could even potentially book with you and not realize that your policies have changed. And it's another one of my horror stories. And again, I know everybody handles these things a little bit differently, but I've heard it a few times. Hopefully it's never happened here. But the big one that sticks out for me is probably about a year ago, I was in a city near Washington, D.C. And they told me a story about a soccer coach who was coming in for a bit of a tournament. He rented a van, and he had 10, 12-year-old girls coming with him. So he had reached out to the CVB and said, I need hotels. I need all first floor, interior corridor rooms. I don't want the kids to run away. I need there to be a swimming pool, or me by myself with 10, 12-year-olds. I'm going to go insane. And I also need to bring my little dog. He's my little stress relief dog. Well, the CVB worked with the hotel, set him up with a pet-friendly property that had a swimming pool. 6 months later, that guy showed up in the middle of the night in an unfamiliar city with a bus full of children and his dog, went to check in and was told our pet policy changed months ago, you cannot stay here. Again, I know we would all handle that differently, but that guy in that instance got put out in an unfamiliar city with kids in the middle of the night trying to find a hotel that could take care of him. And his story was we crammed them all into a couple of rooms at a pretty sketchy hotel. He was up all night, worried sick about it. And then the next day they reached out to the CVB, who was able to make it right. But what could have happened, is that that hotelier would have notified the CVB to say our pet policy changed, they have all this stuff on file. They could have then reached back out to the meeting planner or reached back out to you and said, hey, can we make an exception? Is this still going to work? Or do I need to hook this guy up with another property? So it's important. Obviously, again, those horror stories, hopefully you guys haven't seen anything like that. But it's a good way to nip it in the bud. We have people calling into the visitor center, stopping by the great visitor center over there, asking very specific questions. I need a hotel that has a happy hour, a swimming pool, and a gym, whatever it might be. You gotta make sure we're giving that to them. The amenity information also, though, displays on your website. So if it's wrong and people are doing research here, they're getting the wrong information and they're probably not going to be very happy when they show up. So we're going to ask you guys, again, to really review what's currently on file, because we also added more options in here that were previously available. So first, we got to make sure what we previously had is right, but also we're asking more questions from you so we can provide, again, the people asking the questions with the proper list of businesses. So there are the separate tabs. You can come in under General, for example, and edit, where we enter in information like your hours of operation, payment and pricing info, a little bit of accessibility. You can then come in under accommodations and enter in your specific accommodation information. And we see that it's broken out into some different sections. And all you have to come in here and do is edit, and again, fill in the blanks. And this is really important. I use myself as an example all the time, and some people think it's really silly. But when I'm booking travel, again, I live on the road. I will not stay in a hotel that doesn't list that it has an iron and ironing board. And usually I say that and people kind of laugh and say, doesn't every hotel have an iron and ironing board? The answer is no. And I found out the hard way. I'm a single guy who lives on the road. I'm gone every week. This morning, for example, when I woke up, this outfit was in a ball at the bottom of my bag. The first thing I did was iron. And there's been a couple of instances where I've woken up, and again, I woke up 20 minutes before I got here and had to do all this stuff because that's kind of unfortunately the way I roll. But a couple of times, I've called down to the front desk and said, do you have an ironing board available? And once they said yes, but it's being used by another guest, I've got to leave in 15 minutes. That doesn't help me. Another time, and more often I'm seeing this more and more, is they say, no, we can send your laundry out and have it back to you by 3 p.m. Internationally, you're not going to find an ironing board if you go, to Japan or you go to these other countries. So sometimes, we really want to make sure that that's available. We all have these little things when you're planning a vacation where you're saying, I'm only staying in a hotel that has this amenity. So it's important that people can find the properties that have the amenities that they need. So fill them in, mostly yes or no questions. Sometimes we're adding you to add in some text. Sometimes they're drop downs where you're selecting from a list. If you have a restaurant, check out the restaurant tab. And we'd really need everybody to also make sure at a minimum we're taking a look at this meeting facilities tab. Most of you guys have meeting space. We have different size rooms. We have different capacities. We have different, lengths, heights, ceiling heights, widths of the rooms, and all those good things. So we need to, again, be able to make sure that we're giving meeting planners what they need. When somebody calls and says, I'm looking for meeting space in a hotel where I can have 100 people in a classroom setting, I need ceilings that are 30 feet tall because I plan on bringing in a screen. I need a room that's 50 feet wide because I'm planning on bringing in a stage. Just like with the hotel request, we need to make sure we're giving them either a list of properties that meet their criteria or that we're only sending those requests to you guys who meet those criteria. So come through here. In the top part is all standard amenity information, as we call it, just general info. What's your meeting space square footage? What is your banquet capacity, reception capacity? Little description about your meeting space. You can drop in floor plans. Sometimes it's nice and it's just an extra selling piece when we're able to respond to a meeting planner to say, well, here are the 3 hotels that can accommodate you. Here's the specs on their meeting space. And here is a copy of the floor plan. So that way they can plan it. They know how to set up the room when they get there. Just helps if you can add that in. And once you fill those in, you hit update. Then we should also come down and enter in each different meeting room. Where in this building, there's 5 different meeting rooms. They have a different capacity, again, a different width, a different height. Each meeting room has a different name. So you can come through here and add in each meeting room and the specs. So this way, again, we're trying to make it easier on your team. Instead of just saying, hey, we need a meeting room that has 500 square feet, we can be able to work with the meeting planner and come back to you and say, hey, I specifically need the Roadrunner room, the Coyote room. Again, I always use my Arizona desert critter examples. That's every hotel. But we got to have the information for 2 reasons. Again, one, so we can sell your space. The CVB can sell your space. But also, we're looking at it here. Let the meeting planner come in and do a little bit of research on their own. So it's important that we have these things again in there. So that way we're giving the right information. We're giving you guys the right requests. And we're not wasting the meeting planner's time and we're not wasting your time. So amenities, policies, all that stuff, take a good review of what's currently in there and make sure we get everything on file that should be on file, everything up to date and correct. From there, the last big tab here has to do with social media. I'm gonna ask that you guys enter in your social media links, your social media channels. We use this for a couple of reasons. One, we live in, again, the social media world. The team at the CVB might not have known this, but they are working in the social media space to market and advertise your business. You know, they've got a Twitter account going, they've got a Facebook account going that gets lots of hits. We want to be able to link you guys together. We want to be able to tweet about you. We want to be able to, you know, share information through Facebook, through Foursquare, you know, all these things. So it serves two purposes. One, we want to be able to share this information with planners, with leisure travelers who walk through the visitor center or call us up. Two, we want to be able to use it so we can tweet about you. We can get you guys involved. You might be heavily involved in social media. Some of you guys might be, you know, a little bit smaller and maybe not. It's good to know, even if you don't want to tweet all day, there is somebody at the CVB who could be tweeting on your behalf. So set up a Twitter account if you don't have one, enter it in there. And if you never even tweet, it's not a great idea, but you still have somebody on your behalf who will be tweeting about you from time to time and hopefully getting you guys some traffic going that way. This also, in the near future, will add little logos and little links on your website page so people can then click to go to your Facebook account, go to your Twitter account, you know, right from here. You guys have seen those things all the time. So we want to be able to use your social networking because that's a lot of people, that's how we're marketing and that's how we're communicating these days. But we also need to make sure that, of course, the website has that content. So make sure we're filling in our social media tab there. So I know I keep asking any questions on any of this listing stuff. All right. Gonna come back up to the top, and now we're gonna talk a little bit about leads. So again, historically, when a meeting planner reaches out to the CVB or the CVB's been working with the meeting planner, they put their room night request together and you get an email. The email includes all the relevant information. Your team has been reviewing that email and hitting the reply button and sending your responses back over to the sales team at the CVB. You're still gonna get an email. They're still sending a notification email, you know, every time there's a new lead for you to respond to. The difference is now that email is going to say you have a new lead to respond to, lead ID 1234. The name of the lead is the annual convention. Please log into the extranet to respond. Again, we do this for a couple of reasons. One, like I've said a few times, emails aren't perfect. So my suggestion for your team is to bookmark these pages, ask them to log in, somebody to log in, takes 20 seconds out of the day to come in here and to click on the leads tab to see if there are leads for your team to respond to. We're still sending the email notifications, but if to guarantee you get the chance to bid on everything, sometimes there's short turnaround times. And again, if the email person is just on vacation or sick and not checking emails and they need an answer inside of a week, the only way you'll have the chance to bid on that is if you log in here, you see if there's something to respond to, and then we come in to respond to it. So the email though, the email is going to go to what we call a sales lead catcher. So in every one of your business, there's going to be at least one of these people. It's the sales manager, it's the boss. And sometimes, it's not all your businesses again, but sometimes the lead comes to that person who reviews it. Then based on the number of people, the region they're coming in, they assign it to somebody on their staff. So kind of think of it again, titles and those types of things, it's always different, but the director might get the email, review it, and then reassign it to, you know, another sales manager on their staff. If you don't have that process set up, then you are the lead catcher. You can be the same person that receives the email and responds to the lead, or you can be the person that receives the email and then reassigns the lead. So when you click on the lead tab, it defaults to show new leads that we have not yet responded to. You can filter off any of these columns if you've got a big list and you need to see those that have a close date closer to today. So you can hit the first one, you know, the right ones first and get to the other ones later. You can use these filters to look at those that are brand new again, those that are pending. What pending means, excuse me, the hotel response due date is passed and the CVB is working with the meeting planner to get a decision made. So it's pending. You may see that you have or haven't responded to that pending request, but it's closed. The CVB's got a proposal together and they're working with the planner. You can see your historic leads. Let me see all of the leads that have been closed that my property has won. Let me see all of the leads that my property, or that the destination that has been closed but your property lost, is what I'm trying to say. And then let me see those that are closed to be determined. What that means is sometimes when somebody's planning, a big conference, a big convention, they may be choosing a destination for like 2022, but they're not going to select a hotel until they get closer to the date, because a lot of things can change in 5 or 6 years. New hotels, renovations, those types of things, closures. So they say, hey, we're definitely coming to Springfield in 2022, but we'll talk about our hotels when we get a little bit closer to the date. So that's what closed to be determined means. But your sales lead catcher, again, gets the email, comes in by default, sees brand new leads they have not yet responded to. They see the opportunity or lead ID, the name of the opportunity or lead. So a little bit of statistics there, like their preferred arrival and departure date, your deadline. All that needs to happen is we click on one of those links and it pulls up what looks exactly like the email you used to receive. So hopefully this looks pretty familiar to you guys. This is everything the meeting planner shared with the CVB that they're going to share with you to try to get a good response. Again, it's just the same as the email, but now we're going to ask that you come in here, print out a copy. That sales director or lead catcher, as we call it, can review, can pull out a formal proposal, and then come right down here where they can change the contact. And then in this drop down, we will see the sales contacts at your property. So I could say, you know what, Melissa, you need to respond to this lead. And when I save it, Melissa then gets an email notification that says you have a new lead to respond to, lead ID 1234. They can go in and start this process. You don't have to do that though. Again, you might be a smaller property. You might not have this structure where it goes from the top, to somebody else. You can review, print a copy, and come down in here to enter in your response. So hopefully this page, again, looks familiar to you guys, but a few things just to point out. There is a hotel response due date. Once that date passes, the button down here to respond, goes away. And that's just because we got to understand that we have deadlines. Now, if a meeting planner says, I need to hear back from you by June 1st, we can't respond to them on June 2nd. It doesn't look good. And again, you guys probably know a lot of this stuff, but when a big group is planning a convention or a conference, they're probably reaching out to 3 or 4 cities. They're probably getting bids from anywhere from 5 to 100 different hotel properties in those cities. They're sitting down on that date. They're putting the 3 to 4 cities worth of proposals in front of them. They're reviewing the hotel responses, the catering responses, and they're choosing, which city should I go to? If the other 2 cities have their stuff in time and this city doesn't, they're not even being looked at the same time and probably aren't going to have the same chance to win that piece of business. So just know though, if you look at it and the response due date was, say, yesterday, it cuts off at midnight. So you see the 28th, that means at 12:01 on the 29th, you wouldn't be able to respond. But if you log in and you say, well, that was yesterday and it's this morning, you can still reach directly out to your salesperson at the CVB, and you'll see their contact information listed right here with a hyperlink to their email address. You just click that, opens an email, and you can shoot them a message and say, hey, can I still get in on this? They might be putting together those proposals. They might have given themselves a little bit of cushion to make a nice formal proposal. And they might say, hey, yeah, go ahead and email that over to me. Or they could reopen the lead and say, give me 5 minutes and go into the extranet and enter in your response. So, deadlines are deadlines. I know it's not the greatest thing in the world, but if for some reason you missed the deadline, but we barely missed it, doesn't mean the team doesn't want your response. They sent you the request because either the meeting planner said specifically, get me info from this hotel, or we told the meeting planner, here's a list of hotels we think meet your requirements. So review the lead, and then we'll come down in to enter our response. And it's important that you're entering a response whether or not you're pursuing this piece of business. If for some reason you're booked that week, it doesn't meet your criteria, whatever the case may be, we're still gonna ask that you come in here and say, no, I am not pursuing this lead and here's why. Again, the reason behind that is we're coming back to the meeting planner with a list of hotels that did want to participate. And it's a much different story when a meeting planner comes back and says, hey, why don't I have a bid from the Simpleview hotel? Well, it's a different story to say, I don't know, they didn't respond, than to say, well, they responded and they don't have availability that week. So we need to make sure that we're being, clear with the meeting planners. And again, we're giving them those things. Those lines of communication stay open. I don't know because they didn't respond is much, much different than they said no because they're not available. They might have had their heart set on your property, and that gives us the opportunity to come back and say, well, what about the following week? We could check with them to see if there's availability that week. If there isn't a response, then our only response can be, I don't know, they didn't tell us. And that's not a great, not a great story to tell. Hopefully, most of the time, we're going to say, yes, we are pursuing this piece of business. Just like with the email you were usually hitting reply back to, you can enter in some comments in there. So that's the body. We see, and this information can and most likely will be passed along to the meeting planner. Bureau only comments, we'll see there that says these comments will only be viewed by the CVB. They will not be passed along to the meeting planner. So you can enter in, things that you need to share with the sales manager that the planner should not see. We enter in our room rate. If it's a single rate, that's perfect. If it's, a rate range. Then we come in, we'll see how many rooms were requested each night, and you can come in and enter your mix. On the lead, it might have said, hey, we need 30 doubles. You can say, I got 30 doubles. Or maybe you don't have enough doubles, but you've got a bunch of singles or something like that, or you can offer some suites. We can enter in, again, in our comments or in a formal proposal that we just browse and add right there, the details of those different rooms and the different room rates and those types of things. But again, hopefully this saves you guys some time and some effort as well. From what our experience, again, working with this, hundreds of cities inside of the United States are using the same exact tool set. Big cities like Las Vegas, New York, Boston, Los Angeles, all the way down to little 1 or 2 man CVBs and tiny little cities across the United States. And what we found over time is this simplifies the process for you as well as the CVB. Instead of creating an email from scratch every time and spell checking it and sending it and hoping that it gets through, you're going to just fill in these blanks, hit the save button. And that gives the team the opportunity to just print off those responses in the easy way, to include it in what's called like a bid book, to then give the meeting planner, here's a list of all the hotels that would like to participate. Here's their availability. Here's their room rates. So you still get the email. Whoever that is that's responsible will come in and review it, and we'll reassign it. Oops. Once the due date passes, again, you won't be able to respond. You would come down here and you can view your response, but you can't change it because we're telling that to the planner, right? That bid. Then what may happen is sometimes we're requesting pickup numbers from you as well. So when that happens, when the group is come and gone, we're going to send the lead catcher a pickup request. It's just an email that says, hey, can you please go into the extranet and enter in your actuals, your pickup. So that way, again, that email will include the ID. So you'll be able to come in and find a list of the leads you've won. Find the lead that was requested, the information in the email. We just see that same lead screen, but when I come down here to the bottom, I now see that I can enter in my pickup and the actual pickup average daily room rate. So then again, that gives those actuals back to the CVB. We can report on that. You guys can report on that. And it kind of closes the book. That tells the whole story. There's a step in between that, I guess I forgot about, but you will also receive an email when you've been selected. So once they've worked with the meeting planner, they've come back and said, hey, we want the Simpleview hotel. You're going to get an email that says, congratulations, you've won this piece of business. Either reach out to the meeting planner listed below, or we're going to connect the dots in one way or another. So the lead process is lead catcher gets an email, reassigns it, or comes in to respond to it. You'll get an email telling you want it, telling you that you want it or that you've lost it. You can release those rooms. Then you may get the pickup request asking you to come back in to enter in the pickup, and then that closes all the way out. So a lot of you guys use a similar tool set. There's lots of others. You have your own proprietary software at some of your hotels. Some of you guys might work with like Cvent and getting things from other channels. So hopefully this process is pretty similar to the things you've done before. And again, we're just opening up the walls. We're making sure that we're getting what we need to you guys and you're giving us what we need so we can get that over to the meeting planner. So the lead is a room night request. That's the definition of it. It's the request for hotel rooms. The leads make pretty good sense. I think you guys are all used to the communications. We're just changing where you're responding. That's about it. Sometimes though, the meeting planner again needs more than just hotels or rooms. They need meeting space, they need catering, they need services as we call them. Sometimes meetings don't need hotels and all they need is catering and meeting facilities. So in some situations, you'll receive a lead that's asking you to respond to the room night request. Sometimes meeting planners first select a hotel, then they'll come back and say, well, now we know we're coming to Springfield. Let me see what you guys have to offer as far as meeting space goes, as far as catering goes. So sometimes the lead comes through first, you manage it, you send it, we win it, then you'll get what's called a service request. Other times, again, that's all they need is just meeting space and catering. So they might not even have a room night request. So the service request is just like a lead, but it's the response for the services. These are two separate documents because again, sometimes there's a lead without services. Sometimes there's services without a lead. And also sometimes it's different people at your property who need to respond to the meeting facility request as opposed to the hotel request. So the same rules really apply. You're gonna get an email that says there is a new service request for you to respond to. Again, it can be the same person or it can be a different person. And all we do in those cases is that email is gonna give you all the contact information. Give me 1 second, somebody just deleted my service request. 2 seconds. Let's see here. What'll happen is you'll come in, you'll see the service request, and it's going to look just like this. Again, a lot like the lead, it's just going to contain all the information that you need to know about the number of people, the budget, the requirements of the specific now service. Just like with the lead, you'll come down below to enter in a new response. The response page is super simple. Are you pursuing it, yes or no? Add in some comments that we can pass to the planner, add in some bureau-only comments, and then attach a formal proposal, whatever the formal documentation might be. Could be a brochure, could be a formal proposal from your staff. And again, then we package this, put it in the bid, send them to the planner and say, here's a list of the meeting facilities, choose one. They can review, again, your responses and select a winner. Again, once your property has been selected, you'll be notified to say, congratulations, you've won this piece of business. So again, it might be the same person who responds to both the sales leads and the service requests. Might be two different people. We just need to make sure we work with the CVB staff to make sure the right person is getting the right request and the right person has the right permissions in the extranet to come in and update or to add in that information. Service requests sound good? No, it's a little confusing that they're two separate docs, but again, it's all situational. Sometimes it happens at the same time and your team will just instantly receive a lead and a service request. Sometimes you'll get the lead and 6 months later you'll get the service request. Sometimes it's just services, period, and they don't need hotels. So that's why those documents are separate. So that covers the big things, our communicating back and forth. Sorry, yeah?
Just for clarification, if you were to get a lead and a service request at the same time, you would still have to go into each one individually and respond.
You would, yes.
Even though it would be for the same event.
Yep, you'll see on the service request the lead that it's linked to them, so you know that they're connected to each other. Good question. So again, we can come back through at any point. We can look at our historic leads. We can look at the historic service requests, things we've won, things we've lost over time. We've been working here with Tracy, talking a lot here this morning about adding and creating what's called occupancy tab, the occupancy area for you guys. I think over time you've been getting an email again asking you to send back statistics like your average daily rate, your occupancy percentage, total rooms available. You've been asked a lot more questions than this, just these three though. So we're gonna be working together over the next couple of weeks to add in more fields. So instead of emailing that response back to the CVB when you get that request, I'm gonna ask that you just come in here and you see that it says December 2014. It's because you're gonna be asked to enter in the previous month's average daily rate, occupancy percentage, and a number of other things that we're looking to get added in there over the next couple of weeks. So again, hopefully we're streamlining the process for you. It'll be fill in the blanks instead of having, I think, an email that's come back and forth. And that way, Katie and the team, they get it all in a really easy format. We're able to build the reports off of this. And in some cases, share some of that reporting back to you under the report section, which is also going to grow a little bit over time.
Should
Now,
everybody have the tab of occupancy?
no, because it's not, sorry, I should have said that. No, because we got to work on it. We don't want you entering in complete info and having to come back and do it again, in a week when we finish.
And in some cases, you all aren't the ones at your property that's entering that information anyway. Maybe the general manager or somebody in bookkeeping, whatever the case may be. So that may be totally new to many of you.
Unfortunately.